Have you ever imagined what life would look like if you earned $200,000 a year? For many people, that number sounds like the finish line, the kind of income that should solve financial stress, the kind of income that should create freedom, and the kind of income that should make someone feel rich. But something surprising has happened. Today, there are countless people earning $200,000 a year who quietly admit the same thing. I don't feel rich at all. In fact, many feel financially stretched. Not because they're irresponsible, not because they're bad with money, and not because $200,000 isn't a lot of money, but because income and financial freedom are not the same thing. Imagine someone named Sarah. Sarah is 38 years old, works in a professional career, and earns $200,000 a year. By most standards, she's successful. From the outside, her life looks impressive. A beautiful home, a newer vehicle, family vacations, nice restaurants, a good neighborhood. Everything appears to be working exactly as planned. But behind the scenes, the numbers tell a different story. After taxes, retirement contributions, healthcare deductions, and other expenses, Sarah's take-home income looks much smaller than people expect. And once the monthly bills begin, the money starts disappearing quickly. The mortgage, property taxes, car payments, insurance, childcare, utilities, groceries, subscriptions, travel expenses, home maintenance, and countless small expenses that barely get noticed. Month after month, the income arrives, and month after month, most of it leaves. This is where many high earners experience something unexpected. They earn more than they ever imagined, yet they don't feel significantly wealthier. Why? Because lifestyle inflation quietly follows income growth. When income rises, expectations often rise with it. A larger paycheck creates permission for larger commitments, a nicer house, a better car, more convenience, more comfort, more monthly obligations. None of these decisions seem unreasonable on their own. In fact, most feel completely justified. After all, if you've worked hard and increased your income, shouldn't your quality of life improve? Of course it should. The problem begins when every increase in income is matched by an increase in spending. Without realizing it, people transform financial progress into financial maintenance. Instead of buying freedom, they buy a more expensive version of normal. And over time, that new normal starts to feel ordinary. This is one of the most powerful psychological forces affecting money. Human beings adapt quickly. The things that once felt exciting become expected. The house that felt luxurious becomes average. The car that felt special becomes standard. The lifestyle that once felt extraordinary becomes routine. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation, the tendency to return to a familiar level of satisfaction even after major improvements in life circumstances. And it explains why earning more doesn't automatically create lasting happiness or lasting financial peace. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine two people. One earns $200,000 a year and spends $190,000. The other earns $90,000 a year and spends $50,000. Who is wealthier? Most people immediately focus on income, but wealth isn't determined by income alone. It's determined by the gap between what you earn and what you need. The person with lower expenses often has more flexibility, more choices, more security, and ultimately more freedom. Because financial freedom isn't about impressing other people, it's about reducing dependence on your next paycheck. This is where many high earners get trapped, not by low income, but by high obligations. The bigger the lifestyle becomes, the harder it becomes to change direction. Taking a career risk feels dangerous. Working less feels impossible. Starting a business feels unrealistic. Even walking away from a stressful job becomes difficult, because too many financial commitments depend on maintaining the same income level. The paycheck becomes both the solution and the trap. And that's why earning $200,000 doesn't automatically feel rich anymore. The number itself isn't the problem. The relationship between income, spending, and expectations is. The people who feel financially secure aren't always the people earning the most. Often they're the people who understand the difference between wealth and appearance. They know that visible wealth is easy to display, but real wealth is often invisible. It's flexibility, options, time, peace of mind, the ability to handle unexpected challenges without panic, the confidence to make decisions based on values instead of financial pressure, and perhaps most importantly, the freedom to choose. A $200,000 salary can absolutely create that kind of life, but only if income growth is accompanied by intentional financial choices. Otherwise, more money simply creates a larger financial machine that constantly demands to be fed. The goal isn't extreme frugality, and it's not avoiding success. The goal is making sure your lifestyle serves you, instead of you spending your life serving your lifestyle. Because at the end of the day, feeling rich isn't about how much money comes in. It's about how much freedom remains after everything is paid for. If you found this perspective helpful, consider subscribing to Financial Mind Official for more conversations about money, psychology, and financial freedom. And remember, the ultimate purpose of money isn't to impress others. It's to give yourself more choices. There's another reason why $200,000 doesn't feel rich anymore, and it has nothing to do with math. It has to do with comparison. 100 years ago, people compared themselves to their neighbors. Today, we compare ourselves to the entire internet. Every day, we're exposed to carefully selected highlights from other people's lives. Luxury vacations, dream homes, new cars, business successes, perfect families, and constant reminders of what we don't have. The problem is that comparison changes our definition of normal. When everyone around you appears to be upgrading their lifestyle, standing still starts to feel like falling behind. Even when you're doing well financially, especially when you're doing well financially. Because higher income individuals often compare themselves to other high income individuals. A person earning $50,000 may dream of making $200,000. But a person earning $200,000 may be comparing themselves to someone earning $500,000. Or a millionaire, or a successful entrepreneur. The target keeps moving, and satisfaction keeps getting delayed. This creates a dangerous cycle. People start chasing a feeling they can never fully reach. Not because they lack money, but because they've tied happiness to a constantly changing standard. The truth is that financial freedom isn't a number. It's a relationship between your income, your expectations, and your ability to control your time. That's why some millionaires still feel trapped, and some people with far less money feel completely at peace. One group is constantly chasing more. The other understands what is enough. And understanding what is enough may be one of the most valuable financial skills anyone can develop. Because once you know what enough looks like, you stop making decisions based on pressure. You stop trying to impress strangers. You stop competing in races you never wanted to join. And you start building a life that actually feels meaningful, not just expensive. That's the difference between appearing wealthy and actually feeling wealthy. One is visible, the other is freedom.